हमारे वीडियो के द्वारा उनका हम गीता पर जो वक्तव्य है आज का वो सुनेंगे। ये वक्ता हैं सुश्रुत बधे। सुश्रुत बधे जी पौंडीचेरी के औरबिंदो आश्रम के शिष्य हैं और एक छोटी उम्र में ही उन्होंने गीता पर इतना अध्ययन किया है और गीता पर इतना अपना प्रभाव जमाया है कि हम उनके YouTube के वीडियो से और उनकर मिलकर काफ़ी प्रभावित हुए हैं और हमने उनको इसलिए चुना है ताकि वो हमारे युवाओं के लिए एक प्रेरणा बने। एक युवा अवस्था में कितनी गीता की ज्ञान को अर्जित कर वो प्रभाव से बोलते हैं और क्या उन्होंने गीता को अपने अंदर समाया है उस पर उसको कैसे एक्सप्रेस करते हैं। ये 20 मिनट का वीडियो है उनके गीता पर एड्रेस का, उसको कृपया सुनिए एंड इट इज़ इन इंग्लिश। प्लीज प्ले द वीडियो।
ध्यानमूलं गुरुमूर्ति पूजामूलं गुरुपदम् मन्त्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरुकृपा वसुदेवं सुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। Hari Om, Namaskar. Pranams to my Guru Shree Madhusudhan Ji, pranams to Swami HariHar Ji Maharaj, pranams to all the august members of this beautiful conference. My pranams to Shree Raman Ji and Shree Rajiv Ji for this opportunity in speaking on the GuruDev's Janma Divas, which is the 126th birthday and the 37th International Geeta Conference at Geeta Dham, Tinwari, Jodhpur, Rajasthan. It is said whenever the study of the Gita takes place, Shri Krishna himself comes as a participant, and I am sure all the participants must be experiencing that. I am looking forward to learning more from this conference. This topic for the conference is the Shodashodhyaya, the Adhyaya on the divine and the demonic nature. This duality is there in the world. Everywhere we go, there is the Devi Swabhava as well as the Asuri Swabhava. And there is something then which is higher than both the Devi Swabhava and the Asuri Swabhava. If we look at the Aditya Hridaya, which talks about Rashmimantam Samudyantam Deva Sura Namaskrutam Pujayami Vivasvantam Bhaskaram Bhuvaneshwara. The Satya, the highest truth, which is beyond the divine and the demonic nature. Well, first thing Krishna wants Arjuna is to understand and get grounded. That is why in this 16th Adhyaya, which comes much after the Vishwarupa Darshana, much after the way of Bhakti Yoga also, Krishna introduces him to this because he must understand what is the divine nature as well as the demonic nature. The divine nature Krishna beautifully summarizes in just 3 shlokas. If you see the first, second and third shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, the entire wealth of the divine nature is described in that. It says, Devi Sampadi, Bhavanti Sampadam Devim Abhijatasya Bharata. It starts with Abhayam, Sattva Sanshuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, Danam, Dama, Yajnascha, Swadhyaya, Tapa, Arjavam, Ahimsa is there, Satyam, Akrodha, Tyaga, Shanti, Paishunam, Daya Bhuteshva Lolupvam, Mardhavam, Rira Chapalam, Tejas Shama, Drutish Shaucham, Adroho, Nati Manita. So in 3 shlokas, Krishna gives all these beautiful qualities which are an inheritance, probably because of the Purva Janmas, what we can say, the great karmas that were done in the past birth, what a person may have done to receive these qualities, one does not know exactly in this birth. Only the yogi is conscious. But these are the qualities. The best part about this is qualities which are absent can be cultivated. That is the beautiful human nature, which is always open for transformation. This we have seen. So abhaya, a person who is afraid can suddenly become fearless. When is this going to happen? When the person becomes conscious. Seeking the inner purification, engaging in yajna, engaging in dana, in tapa, swadhyaya. So all these qualities which are there, which are a direct association of the divine in the mortal plane. These qualities, with these qualities, we can recognize the divine. When we do the Aradhana of the Devi also, and when we do the Stuti, we say, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasya, 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 Namo Namah, Shanti Rupena Sanstita. So these qualities are the manifestations of the divine in the Bhuloka. And so through these qualities, we can recognize the divine, and through these qualities, we can raise our consciousness towards the divine. So the first three shlokas cover up everything. But this Adhyay is having most of the shlokas dedicated to the Asuri Swabhava. Now, why would Krishna want this for Arjuna? Well, he does not want to cultivate Asuri Swabhava in Arjuna, but he wants Arjuna to be ready. A sadhak who is a sadhak of Krishna should be like Krishna, should not be fooled by anybody. The negative forces, the Asuri nature cannot take a person for a ride. Sri Aurobindo had beautifully in his hymn to Durga spoken about Asurasya Udyamam Shakti Dehi. Means give me the strength and might of the Asura, the guna of the Deva and the strength of the Asura. Or Krishna says, Tyutam Chalayatam Asmi. He says, I am the purity in the inception of purity in a person who is good natured, but I am also the cunning in the gambler's deception. Nobody could cheat the divine Krishna. Something like that Krishna wants Arjuna to be ready to face this world. And that is why he begins from the 4th shloka about the Asuri Swabhava. It starts with Dambho Darpo Bhimanascha Krodha Parushyameva Ajnanam Chabhijatasya Parth Sampadam Asurim. So you see, egoism, false pride, deceitful arrogance, not controlling this speech, having that harshness, anger, why the ignorance. These are all the qualities that define the undivine nature. The moment Krishna says this, Arjuna gets a small doubt. Is Krishna referring to me? Because Arjuna also in his moments has behaved in a little arrogant way. When Krishna tells Arjuna that I thought the great Satya to the Surya, who then passed it on to Manu and then Ikshvaku and entire description. Arjuna questions. Arjuna says, I don't understand. How can I believe what you are saying? Or in the very first Adhyay, we see Arjuna very arrogantly speaking some things to Krishna. So suddenly Arjuna gets a doubt. Was I like this? Am I the one with extra ego? Am I the one who is having this false pride? Was I wrong? Immediately Krishna says, no, do not worry Arjuna. Ma shuchah sampadam devim abhijatosi Pandava. You have the divine nature. So he says, no Arjuna, you have that nature, but understand what is the demonic nature. Because in the world, everybody is not going to be the same. There is going to be a person who is going to be Niswarthi, Many times that Niswarthi person is going to be surrounded by people who are Swarthi only. You look at the difference between the Pandavas and Kauravas, the strength in numbers also was so much. There were lakhs of soldiers extra on the Kauravan side. So it is always like that. When you take a stance, when you try to uphold Dharma, initially it looks like you are overpowered, but that is not the truth. Satyam eva jayate dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Somebody who is protecting the Dharma or upholding the Dharma, he is going to be protected by the Dharma. This realization comes afterwards. But Krishna is equipping Arjuna because he should understand. He says from the next shlokas onwards, 7th shloka onwards, he starts describing how Asuri nature is. Asuri nature, they don't know what is pravrutti and what is nivrutti. Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha jana na vidurasuraha na shaucham na pichacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. The demonic beings are ignorant of the right action, devoid of knowledge, unaware of the path of abstention. There is no truth in any of these beings, nor is faithfulness observed in their dealings. Beautifully Krishna has told. There is no foundation of truth. If there is no truth, can we engage in any deal? We cannot. And that is what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Where there is truth, there alone hold a deal. Otherwise, don't go on that path where there is no truth at all. And the Asuri nature does not understand the meaning of selflessness. It is unaware of what is this path. Why? Because they believe they are everything. They are the Alpha, they are the Omega. I am better than the rest of the world. I can think better. I am more special. And there is no God. Is there joy? I think many people we come across are skeptics. That is okay. That is okay, we can say to some extent, because many of our great saints were skeptical at one point of time. Swami Vivekananda, when he saw this terrible fate of all the people in the famine, he asked God, Agar tum ho to ye kyun hai? Sri Aurobindo also, prior to his experience, his Krishna experience, before that, there was a skeptic in him. He was just wondering, what is this? What is this Sanatana Dharma? How is it going to stand? What is happening? So, asking questions is fine, but ridiculing somebody else's faith, that is the fall. So they say, first, there is no God. They jubilantly proclaim. When somebody's Shraddha, I think Krishna has told very nicely, Na buddhi bhedam. Do not create a divide in another person's mind. Let that person dwell according to that person's thinking. Here, not only do they not believe in God, they take a great pride in ridiculing everybody who believes in God. There is no God, they jubilantly proclaim. There is no truth in this world, so they claim. The origin of the world they dismiss as mere chance. Only desire is its foundation. Thus is their stance. What happens when there is no truth? No truth in the belief in Bhagwan, no Bhagwan, no Satya, then Runam Krutva Gritam Pibet. That is the attitude. Run after your desires. Run after your desires only. That is the approach. When a person runs after desires, what happens? That is the fall which is described from the shloka 8 onwards. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 actually describes what happens ultimately. Asha pasha shatair baddhaha kama krodha parayanaha. Because when you are running only after desires, everything in life runs after desires. There is nothing higher than that in such a person's mind. Mind is polluted. What happens then? The person is most prone to the Asuri nature. In Bangalore, there was one case of a riot. In that riot, people threw stones and bricks on all of so many properties, especially these buses. and one lady was caught in the CCTV camera. She was caught throwing stones and breaking the bus and setting it on fire. When she went to jail, she was asked, "Why did you do this?" She said, "I was offered a free plate of biryani." Look at that. One divine soul sold for a plate of food which will just disappear just like that. This is what happens when ahankar takes control or desire takes control of a person. So the entire life is perceived by this falsehood only. Mind is polluted, soul is cheated. That problem of this is when you run after desires, desires are never fulfilled. A constitution of a particular country gives the right to pursuit of happiness. But our Sanatan Dharma says don't pursue happiness. Happiness is where you are if you can become conscious. A yogi is permanently happy. Santushtaha satatam yogi. The yogi is in a steady state of ananda at all times. But this is a philosophy which a Asuri Swabhava person cannot understand, because there is so much ahankar, always wants to grab and acquire more and more. They believe this only. It is this, they say ignorance is bliss, but this is not bliss actually, it is pseudo bliss, because ultimately this ignorance only brings about all the wrong consequences. Continuously, a person who is running after desire is afraid of losing those items that the person desires, and that creates a great disturbance inside, and that creates the bandhana. And they're not one or two, it is 100 bonds of desire. Asha pasha shatair baddhaha. 100 bonds, it binds them. And such a person is always driven by desire, driven by anger. Keeps thinking, I have got this, I need more. This much wealth I have got, tomorrow it must grow. Now again, one important aspect is wealth is not considered wrong in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna gives us the example of Janaka Raja. Janaka Raja was wealthy, yes, but he was also Jivan Mukta. He was not trapped by the desire. So we need strong sadhaks who are also strong in mentally, physically, even by wealth also, so that they can bring about great transformations in the world. But getting trapped in the desire of wealth, that is the biggest trap. And Krishna very nicely says in this, Yo bijanaman asmi konyosti sadrusho maya yakshe dasyami modishya ityajnana vimohita. So lost are they in their own what we can say desire and anger and lust, that they feel they are the best. There is nobody. I am wealthy, from this family of rich I hail. In comparison to me, everyone looks pale. I perform sacrifice. I do so much charity. I am the real enjoyer. This is their narrow mentality. What happens ultimately? This is the ladder of the fall, we can say. One after the other, the person keeps going from a higher state. He keeps falling. Initially, there's just the skeptic, we can say, gets transformed when the realization comes. When the truth comes, the skeptic also will fall on the knees when the truth manifests. But in this direction, when the seeking stops, where there is a very big difference between a skeptic and a sadhak. When a skeptic stops seeking, then the person ceases to remain a sadhak and goes on the wrong path, this entire path of destruction. But when the questions keep leading this person to a higher truth, slowly the answers come, and then the skeptic also gets transformed. But here, Aneka chitta vibhranta mohajala samavrataha prasakta kama bhokeshu patante narakeshu chau. This mind, which is in so many ways deluded, it's trapped in craving, always restless, and ultimately Naraka is what is in store. Now this Naraka which Krishna is talking about, he is not talking about a different Naraka Loka. He is talking about the Naraka which life becomes for such people who are trapped in this chain of desires and anger and lust. I think Krishna has very nicely said, Ashantasya kutaha sukham, elsewhere in the Gita. Means, can there be happiness without peace? No, it's not possible. So everybody wants to be peaceful in life, but they are not recognizing. They are not recognizing this. What is the source? What is the source of this peace? And so they run after the wrong things. And this is the entire problem. Because one person opens the gate for Naraka, life becomes that hell for such a person. We have this choice, is what Krishna is saying. Otherwise, we get trapped in the Asuri nature, we are driven by our desires, we perform wrong karma, and then because of the karma, we have the consequences as well. Krishna talks about 3 gates of hell in life. Trividham naraka sedam dvaram nashanam atmanaha kama krodhas tatha lobhas tasmadetat trayam tyajet. Threefold are the gates of darkness and destruction that sentence a being into hell's damnation. Desire, rage, and lust are the accursed 3. Only by renouncing them one can be free. Kama, Krodha, and Lobha. These 3 have to be renounced to experience a freedom. Because when you become free from these, Etair Vimuktaha Kaunteya Tamodvarai Stribhir Naraha Acharatyatmanaha Shreyas Tato Yati Param Gatim. Liberated from the doors of darkness, we can realize the divine. For then the person can walk alone and reach the highest status of the soul that is known. This is very important to recognize this, that unless we become free from these three dwaras, we are going to experience Naraka. Many times people say, what is for me if there is no anger? If there is no anger in my house will become Swarga, is what the person says. Or he says, I will experience Vrindavan, Krishna's Vrindavan. Well, it is the same thing. Kama and Krodha both come together, and they are the entire responsible individuals or forces for bringing complete downfall. But Krishna says these 3 gates have to be sealed. I think we know that, isn't it? If you see in the borders, now India's 3 sides, if we look at them, definitely we have to protect those borders. If you know one side is weak, what happens? Anytime infiltration can take place. Same way, Kama, Krodha and Lobha. All these 3 have to be sealed. If you seal them, you become free. This is the Shastra. This is exactly what the great yogis of the ancient times have been telling. They have shown the way for a higher consciousness, for higher realizations, for greater life experiences also. Look at Krishna. Krishna's life, Krishna gives his own example because he says we all can rise to that consciousness. There is an Ananda, the Ananda that we can experience in everyday life, in our relations, in our workplace, when we are alone, when we are in company. Imagine if we can transform that. Well, that is the Shastra, is what Krishna says. He says that somebody who doesn't follow this, he follows his desires. And the problem is, desire does not get fulfilled. And so a person goes on to that wrong direction and wrong path of sorrow. And Krishna then completes this adhyay, the beautiful shloka about Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Karya Vyavasthitau Gnatva Shastra Vidhanoktam Karma Kartum Yaharhasi. Therefore, let the scriptures be your guide, and by their truths may you always abide. By understanding them, follow their declaration, in all works and actions, bring forth your emancipation. So this I would like to conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Let us all remember Krishna's words. Let us follow the scripture of the Gita. Let us follow the teachings of the Gita, understand their truth and live them. For that is the real moksha. That is the real freedom that we can get in this world. Ihaiva. In this birth itself, we can experience it. So with this, I conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। हरि ओम तत्सत्। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्।